is the guy who helps us put it all together, who finds the experts, who weaves together sort of a tapestry of what's the latest and greatest in training. Please join me in welcoming Tony Horton. You know, when Hudgens was up here, he made this thing look like a little step stool. And I'm like Lily Tomlin. Okay, so what can we expect from the next P90X?
Well, you know, we've learned a lot in 7 years. I'm sort of a Dr. Jekyll of fitness, you know, so I'm always talking to the right people. I always want to, I want to go to the next level. So we've added stability balls and medicine balls. You know, we've changed the yoga. It's not necessarily an hour, 2.5 hours this time. And we've learned what our customers want, right? So it's about power and strength and stability and coordination and stamina. You know, it's about athleticism. You know, there's 3 different levels to it. There's the food system has changed. You know, dietary aspects have changed. So, you know, as we grow as a company, as our customers become more savvy, we work with them, we change it, and it's going to blow your mind.
So, dig it. So, you know, the concept of P90X being built on muscle confusion. How does P90X2 build on that?
Well, I think certainly one of the reasons is, you know, functional fitness, core fitness, those aspects of it. I mean, in a traditional P90X routine, you do wide push-ups and narrow push-ups, and those are great. Of course, they build strength. But, you know, now we do push-ups on 4 medicine balls. And we do plyometric push-ups on a stability ball. And we put our hands on a medicine ball and our feet on a medicine ball. It's like plank, 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 you know, we're constantly engaging our core. So instead of just working parts, which is still great, you know, we still are some spot training in P90X, but a vast majority of the exercises, based on the exercise science, you know, working with Marcus Elliott, we've learned that it really is, it's not only about weight loss and losing inches and seeing numbers on the scale, it's about becoming better, stronger, leaner, more flexible, and doing it in 5 days instead of 6.
Well, certainly the athletic side of it, we'll get to that. The athletic side of it is attractive. You know, we've had incredible success with Asylum following up Insanity with more of a sports bent. And I know this is highly sophisticated training. But for many people out there, still the motivation, and, you know, for me, is keeping trim, keeping lean, continuing the visible transformation at the same time that they want to be better athletes or just more mobile. Will P90X2 continue to further the transformation along from P90X?
Yeah, because, you know, if you look at the best bodies in the world, they're from athletes. Right? So athletes focus on power, strength, speed, agility, vertical height, lateral movement. So as an effect of why they're working out, their bodies automatically change. They automatically burn calories. They automatically become smaller and leaner and build six-packs and delts and great quads and great butts because of the speed and the agility, the balance and the coordination in the actual routines that they're using. So the average customer, you know, it's a performance-based exercise routine. It requires skill. Just like with P90X, a vast majority of the folks that have done P90X couldn't do a lot of the moves for the first 30, 40, 60 days. Because that's the whole idea. If you were good at this stuff at the beginning, it doesn't work. So the fact that it is difficult and you have to learn some of the moves is the reason why Jeremy Yost, 180 pounds with a fused ankle, 100 pounds and 90 pounds, you know, these folks are people that picked up P90X who should have really picked up Power 90 for that matter. But they were willing to learn. You know, it's about learning, it's about patience, it's about enjoying the journey. So what we've done is we've extended the journey, you know, into a whole new realm.
Now, you know, in that little preview, you saw some pretty intense moves, and I think that shiny new thing always gets a lot of attention, and there will be many people who are like, I'm going to do that one first. Now, does this replace P90X?
No, not at all. You know, it's an extension of P90X. It's just basically more muscle confusion, you know, plain and simple. You know, you can start P90X2 cold, if you're pretty athletic. Kind of like, it's the same, similar, I would make the same distinction between insanity and asylum. I think a lot of people never saw insanity, just jumped into asylum when they were ready. I mean, they had to take their time. Same thing here, I think, with P90X2. It's going to challenge you, I think, in some respects more, but in some respects it'll feel a lot like P90X2.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we've seen is that people build a really incredible baseline of fitness with P90X, and a lot of these moves, very athletic moves, will really require the major muscle strength that you get from P90X, sort of the basic, some of the isolated stuff that you get from P90X to really make P90X2 all it can be. So from a coaching perspective, we actually put a lot of great care into making sure that we weren't making P90X an orphan out there. It's still an important component to the overall story. In fact, personally, I think Power 90 is still the best gateway into the series. Yeah, it's a great program.
That's true. It really is. We open up a lot of doors with Power 90. I mean, obviously, it was the first thing of its kind. Everybody in the industry said, "What are you, crazy? 6 days a week in healthy food? You're not going to sell that." But we sold authentic, real stuff. A lot of people sat at home and went, "That looks hard. I want to do that." Which makes you all kind of crazy. I look at that. It's a beautiful thing. And so, as Power 90 was the gateway to P90X, P90X is the gateway to P90X2.
Right. Okay. So, give us a snapshot. The general construction of the program, phases. You mentioned, talk about 5 days a week versus 6, and what sort of equipment we need. Just give us an overall.
Well, it's 90 days, just like with P90X, but like with P90X, you can keep going. I mean, you can keep developing through P90X2. I still do. I've been doing P90X2 routines for months and months and months, and I really enjoy it. There's a foundation phase, which is kind of critical because you're adding stability balls and medicine balls and balance, and you get your 2 hands on a medicine ball and 2 feet on a medicine ball. It's going to take some time for all that connective tissue.
Don't do this workout on a hill.
Yeah. Or you'll throw yourself right down into the river. But, it's a learning phase, really, more than anything else. And then the second phase is the strength phase, which is going to feel a lot like P90X. There'll be some things that will be similar, but there will also be new things that will blow your mind. And the last phase, which is, we'll talk about PAP, the complexes in a second with Marcus, but that's the performance stage. That's when, you are really pushing the envelope and you are doing things physically that you probably couldn't do in the first month, because you need that foundation, you need that strength phase, and when you finally get to the performance phase, that's when you really turn it on. And, ironically, that's when your body starts to look like an athlete. I mean, your delts and your arms and your glutes and it's crazy how people change. Yeah. And their focus is not how much weight am I going to lose this week, but how can I get better? How can I do an extra push-up? How can I do another one of those crazy circle pull-ups that Tony wants me to do? And as a result of focusing on getting better, that's how your body changes in appearance.
Right. Now, how about 5 days a week? I mean, there was a lot of debate at the office about taking.
I know. I was one of those. What?
Yeah.
But then I sat down with Marcus and I sat down with Isabel and you and all the research that we did, and we discovered that when you're turning up the volume like this, it's really about active recovery, it's about active rest. A lot of people don't know what that is. We give you a rest day with P90X, and the vast majority of people just sleep till noon. You know what I mean? Go crazy with the burgers and the Coca-Colas. Not true, but we still want you to have that rest day. But on that other day, go for a hike, go for a walk, maybe get on your bike. Take advantage of all that work you had done the first 5 days and go outside and enjoy the world.
Yeah. I think I draw out the comparison to the results and recovery formula, right? I mean, it tastes so good, you want to have it every single day. Have it with a meal. Can I get another results and recovery? You got to earn that. Right. Same thing with that extra day off.
Right.
You got to work hard those 5 days, and then when we say you make all your gains while you're at rest, well, you had to earn that rest. You had to do something. You had to break some muscle down in order for your body to need that day off and make that great recovery. But that's true. In fact, if there's anything between Isabel and I that we constantly debate, because I'm kind of like you, it's like, if I break the habit, I'll easily break the habit for a couple of weeks. So I want to work out every day. And she's like, no. No, no. She says it. No. I'm telling you, take this day off. If I take this day off, I'm taking this month off. And she's like, well then stretch. Get there, do the stretch. It's cuter when she says it. Much cuter. Yes. But it's true. I mean, world-class athletes rest, and they find a way to maintain their fitness habit and still rest. And that's what we're trying to incorporate in P90X2.
Well, you know, all the science shows the change comes from the time when you're doing nothing, not when you're doing something. When you're actually doing whatever we're asking you to do with P90X2, you're breaking down muscle tissue. You're destroying the cells inside the muscle. And so you need an extra day with this program, the way it's set up, for them to repair. And repair requires, you know, rest and making sure you're consuming the right foods. And of course, we'll talk about the diet as well.
It's an easy sell, right? Go to people and say, hey, look, do this, and we're going to destroy cells. It's just going to break you down. It's great. But just look at the results. So let's talk a little bit about equipment and again, the flexibility that we try to work into every program so that you don't have to have an entire gym full of balls in order to do the program.
Well, no.
They've been here a long time.
Dirty minds. He's the guy, by the way, who wanted to call it chest, back, and balls.
So if you're going to go for it, you can go. You gotta go.
But dude, they're no, I'll have fun with it. It'll be great. But yeah, right. We've got stability balls, which you know, Kathy Smith introduced a long time ago, right? So a lot of folks here who are coaches and Beachbody devotees, you know, they have them, but you know, we add that dimension to it. And you need that. You need that instability. You know, if you're sitting there and you're doing a push-up on a ball, there's so much more going on, and there's so much more change that comes so much more rapidly as a result of adding that component. Same thing with the medicine balls. We have weighted bars. You know, we've added the foam roller, you know, for the deep tissue myofascial release, you know, in between, which is just an amazing, incredible tool to really help. You can go to a masseuse and maybe they'll work on the right part or they won't, but they won't give you enough pressure, or maybe they'll you know, you're spending $200 for this thing where you might get what you want. But you know, the great thing about the foam roller is that you get to work on this very specific spot that needs it for as long as it needs it. And when you do that, you know, you're avoiding injuries and your performance level goes through the roof, and you're just able to keep bringing it, right? 5 days a week, really hard.
So we'll post all of the stuff. If you wanted the full component, you want to make a commitment to P90X2, we'll post everything that you'll need. It'll obviously be available when the whole program is available, and we'll get to that later. But there's also an option with every move, like we always do, that if you're doing it with bands, if you don't have the pull-up bar, if you don't have all the balls with you, you're traveling, whatever, you can still do the program, right?
Absolutely. You know, if you look at a lot of the folks that were maybe not perfect candidates for P90X, who managed to do it anyway, they were able to succeed because of the modification of variations. Right? And so typically you would see the extreme, you'd see the modified, and something in between. What we thought we would do this time is kind of take it to the next level. And we have one, you know, of course, there'll be me in the front, there'll be 3 in the back. And we've got the extreme version. We got somebody, you know, maybe not going quite as intense, but then we have somebody who's modifying a lot and also showing people that if you're traveling and all you have is enough room in your suitcase for some bands, you can still do P90X2. I don't care where you are on this planet, you can still do it no matter what, because there's going to be a version for you to see right there on the screen.
So let's see if we get a little look. Okay, so we're going to run through a little peek at the programs, and yeah, it's okay if you just keep videotaping. I'm fine.
Oh.
And Tony, why don't you just...
It'll be on YouTube in 25 minutes.
We're streaming this right now to YouTube. Pressing DVDs in China as we speak. Let's hope not.
Really?
No, honestly, John is so excited about this. He's like, we're going to have armed guards, and when these masters are pressed, the armed guards are going to be trained, shoot to kill, if anyone tries to reproduce. use this. We're protecting our flanks on this one. Okay, so you tell us what we're looking at a little bit. You don't have to go into too much detail. I hope I didn't. No, this is the clicker. Okay, here we go. X2 cool.
So as you can see here, this is we had core synergistics in P90X. This is X2 core. So you can just tell by some of these movements, right? You're doing some pretty fun stuff. You're adding plyometrics with core movements, and of course you've got modifications. It's just sort of the next level of core synergistics.
Yeah, and a lot of the program is really, as you'll see, functional. Now here, this one is going to kill people. Fly outside. Yeah,
fly outside. I got the red shoes on for this one, baby. So poor Tracy and Mark. I don't think they've ever been the same since. But the idea here is, the great thing about this one is you're moving more laterally. I know with P90X, it was more about jumping in one spot, but we're moving side to side more, and we're going for more vertical height too, which is really important in terms of deployment.
Recovery and mobility. There's the foam roller.
Well, here's our foam roller. Right? There's poor Cedric. Oh, he's trying. Cedric, don't cringe so much, man. But right, you can see our modification here. We've devoted an entire DVD to the importance of recovery. And you're allowed, you can see the different versions. That's the deaf version from Isabel there. The spikes in it. Yeah. But it's an amazing, incredible tool.
I love that thing. It's super soft.
And it's above and beyond stretching. It really is. Stretching is phenomenal. Yoga is phenomenal. But this takes it to the next level.
All right. Total body.
Total body is just like it sounds. You're doing one arm bicep curls in Warrior 3. Hello! All right? You're doing pull-ups where your whole body is crunched. You're doing plyometric push-ups on a stability ball, and freaking Jeremy Yost beat me there. That was brutal for me. Brutal for my ego. But what's fun about that is, how about that one, boys and girls? So, again, the reason why it's 5 days a week is because almost, I'd say 95% of the exercises, everything's involved. It's not just chest or just shoulders, just arms.
Yeah, and that actually is what makes it more athletic, because when you're out there, you're not moving one body part when you're doing some move on the field. You've got to be able to react. You've got to be able to move sideways. You want to be able to recruit the right big movers with your stabilizers in order to perform.
You want to build that foundation, you want to build that strength, but while in the process you're also building speed and agility and power, and also, with all that lateral and vertical movement, you're tapping into parts of your legs and your butt that we haven't seen.
Now, how can you improve on ab recovery?
Well, there's Pfeiffer scissors with an added reach. If you were my workout the other day, you saw that. I mixed an interesting combination of some things that folks have seen in Yoga Belly 7 for P90X, and we've added a lot of stuff where you're up, like with Mason Twist, for example, we're up a lot, up on our butt, because you're forced to use your core that way. So it's a brand new mix. It's a brand new ab for X2, and it'll be just as brutal as the first one.
Now, you talk about core, balance and power. X2 is coming. X2 Yoga.
Your friend Crane there. What I did we had a lot of conversations about this, but when it came to the P90X2 Yoga, we wanted to get back to basics a little bit. We wanted just a constant flow. You know what I mean? So we took out some of the standing balance moves. We got busy right away. The warm-up was a little bit shorter, and we wanted to condense the very best of the best of the moves that I think are most effective in yoga in the course of about an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Close to an hour.
Yeah. So last time it was done in sort of 2 halves. You had the whole vinyasa phase in the first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
When love is in. And then we were standing on our heads and our fingers were up our noses.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. Last night I was walking through the hallway. I had my own workout. Yesterday was yoga day for me. I'm doing yoga in, Crown Room 3, and all of a sudden 35 people showed up. So, it's kind of fun.
All right, now I'm talking balance and power, which is your core routine. That is my favorite move in this whole thing.
That move is crazy. Well, balance and power is exactly what it is. You're adding balance components with strength components at the same time. Usually you'll see them separately. Like there's a little chata.
Look at that. Outrageous.
Outrageous. Yeah, that doesn't require anything whatsoever. So, it doesn't look like much, for example, that one where you're on your forearms, but oh my God, you get to your 10th one. And oddly enough, the beautiful thing is you can feel your core working without having to get on your back and work your core specifically, right? So as a result of that, a lot of those moves you just saw, your quads are engaged, your glutes are engaged, your pelvis is tilted, your core is firing without having to actually do crunches, which are important as well. We see those in athletics. Yeah. But, you know, we're just trying to help people become more athletic, become stronger, and in the process, become gorgeous as well.
Well, my experience personally with this versus other kind of ab moves, this one, I have a tendency to get really tight in my lower back, right? So these kind of moves, a lot of plank moves, man, just fixes my lower back pain. Like it's just fixed.
Right.
So I'm excited about that. All this extra core work. Anybody who, you know, if you sit a lot, you work a lot, the lower back tightens up, and I think you're going to feel some relief by strengthening it this way versus just doing the old.
Well, you know, it's amazing how much we've learned in 7 years when it comes to just doing a standard push-up. You know, like today, like the other day when we were in my workout, you know, you never heard me cue things like flex your quads, drive the backs, you know, your backs and your knees toward the ceiling, and turn your heels back and tilt your pelvis towards your elbows. You know, I mean, we cued it as best we could based on what we knew at that time, but we've learned so much in the interim that, you know, when you see folks now do in P90X2, you see them do a push-up, they're like this steel rod from head to heels, you know, and that's the idea. And it requires, you know, some new philosophy to be able to do that. And when you do, like yourself, you prevent that injury. Because so many people have that lower back slap when they're doing their push-ups because they're focused just too much on numbers. Now we're focusing more on form. And when you do that first, your numbers will go up, but you'll also not get hurt, and you're engaging everything.
No, I saw that. Everybody was so strong in the room, I actually ran across everybody. Okay. Chest, back, and ball ends.
Yeah, we thought we had chest, back, and balls for the one-on-ones, but we thought for the masses we should probably bring it up.
Levers.
So
Wow.
Yeah, there are levers. There's push-ups on your fingertips. There's 4-ball push-ups. You know, and trust me, when I first started doing that move in particular, it took me like 8 or 9 times to get 2 or 3 reps, and that really pissed me off.
Well, that's what's cool. That's what, you know, you get P90X2, people go, oh boy, $120 or whatever, and they for 7 DVDs. This isn't a thing that it's like one and done. You're going to do this for years. Yeah. And kind of like all the programs, you go back to them. Even still with Power 90, you go back to it, you're lifting a different weight, you get a whole, just a completely different experience out of it. This is so rich. This is 2 years of richness that people are going to experience as they do this over and again, back and forth with P90X, P90X2, work in Insanity, work in Turbo Fire, work in Asylum. It's like you got the coolest gym on the planet right downstairs.
Absolutely. You really do. If you look at our winners last night, the vast majority were combo. You know, you would see the combination of different programs that they would use. And that's the beautiful thing. You can customize your own workout routines. You know, we are learning, everybody here in this room and people outside of this room who are, you know, P90X and Beachbody customers are much more sophisticated than they were back in the old days. Back in the old days, it was either do nothing because it was too intimidating, or go to the gym and just do the same old thing that stopped working. And now, because of this incredible library that we have, all of us are just learning more. You know, everybody's becoming their own trainer because as a result of this huge library we have.
It's cool. All right, shoulders and arms.
Well, you know, shoulders are the link to everything upper body, right? So it's really important. We got some, we're, you know, we went wacko here. So of course, as you can see, we can't get away from these crazy balls, you know. Yeah. Because there's so much fun stuff here. We've got 2-direction shoulder flies. And the thing is, we're doing a form of rehab and also strength. We're shaping the muscle, we're building the muscle, we're also rehabbing the muscle all at the same time. Because quite often, you know, our egos get in the way and we care too much about, you know, building the size and the shape, and we ignore the fact that the shoulders are very vulnerable for a lot of folks. So we've added some components to make sure that the shoulder joint, the rotator cuff, is strong and stable too. Dig it.
And of course, base and back, which was also part of the one-on-one development.
Makes you throw up.
Yeah. You know, I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought it'd be a really cool idea to add plyo and pull-ups all in one workout. So have fun with that one. Honestly, you know, we'll talk about the cardio issue earlier, you know, but that's a perfect example of a non-cardio exercise sequence.
Let's talk about it. You're going to get this, and there's no X2 cardio.
Nope.
There's no
No
tempo.
no martial arts, no
Right.
tempo.
So why not? Why did you create just half a program? What were you thinking?
Well, I figure our library is pretty stacked with cardio. I mean, obviously, Debbie and Shalene and Sean T. and all the other trainers have such great cardio programs, but it wasn't because they have it, you know. I mean, hello, the greatest. Right, working out on the beach at 109 degrees with little pebbles of sand like poking through my toes. It's still awesome, so go out and get it. But the reason why we put it in there is because you know, you look at the average, the football field is only so long, right? So you're either running laterally across it or to the end, basketball court, soccer field. You know, most athletes, the way they move is not for, you know, 30 minutes straight with their heart and lungs and legs all working together. But really, what we try to do is create sequences that were fast and furious, much like the P90X, that work the entire body as opposed to just pure cardio. There are hundreds of people out in this audience who maybe 5 or 6 years ago said, well, you know, I need cardio to really change my body. But we as Beachbody have taught them that it's a combination of resistance and fat and interval exercises. Basically what these are very high heart rate interval routines where the heart rate's going up and coming down and going up and coming down. That way your body's allowed to kind of push the envelope more. Sometimes when it's just pure cardio, you stay in this one little line where you're not really challenging the entire body as much as you could. And the more you challenge your body, the more muscles and joints and tendons that are getting worked, the faster the results, and the better you're going to look in the end.
Got it. Well, look, you know, we've alluded to it a little bit. Let's get into the genesis of how PAP got into the program. And, you know, we talk a lot about, and one of the things, frankly, I'm most proud of with the P90X program is one of the things that Tony said in a very early meeting, and the videos that you've seen online of sort of the behind-the-scenes development of the program are all the real deal. I mean, when you first recommended that we have 12 routines, I was like, no way, that's too much. Nobody's going to master it. Like, the thing I love about Power 90 is once I master it, then it's just about how intense I can be with the program versus having to try to master it. And you made the point that's where the gains are going to come, is from not mastering it. As soon as you think you master it, I'm going to change it up on you. But the thing that really blew me away, and this is classic Horton, was you said, I'm not an expert in everything, but I know a lot of people who know a lot more than me, and I'm going to pull from the best, and I'm going to translate that in a way that people can really get into at home through DVDs. And I think that's really, you know, we got interviewed yesterday by a guy from Nightline, and he was asking, you know, what's the hook here? Why does this work? And I said, the reason P90X is so special, and frankly, most of our programs, the reason that we've raised the bar is the people who we have presenting them are so good at articulating fitness through this one-directional medium versus, you know, you got a trainer there counting your reps, straighten your knee, get your ankles over this, then your elbow needs to go that way. And you've got nobody giving you feedback, so you need a real expert to deliver that information in a way that's just not deathly boring. This guy manages to do that, and he manages to do it by pulling expertise from great people. So talk a little bit.
Go on about me. I have no problem with that.
Well, we're going to talk about your deal after this. So let's talk about how we came across PAP.
Well, Marcus Elliott, who runs the P3 Center up in Santa Barbara, Peak Performance Project, I believe it was through Steve Edwards. Steve Edwards and also John Compton, our president, had a relationship and a connection with him. And John came to me and said, dude, you got to meet this guy. It's incredible what he's doing. It's so state-of-the-art. It's so cutting edge. He's so far ahead of so many people. He's got the best professional and collegiate athletes coming to his facility from around the country and around the world. I think what they're doing is so unique. And let's talk to him and work with him and go up to his facility and chat with him. And so, you know, I said, wow, that sounds like, you know, enough to go to Santa Barbara, hang out a couple of days, and just work on some things that were brand new to me. I was fired up. And, you know, I go in there kind of cocky because I'm really good at doing push-ups and pull-ups. So. And then I get in there and I see some things and I think, oh, that looks hard. I can't do that. But, you know, you get right in there and, you know, you do your best and
forget the rest.
Right? And so that's what I did.
Did you guys reverse this when I was napping? That's good. Well, let's bring him out, and we'll get into it a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Elliott. chairman of our scientific advisory board?
Chairman of your scientific advisory board.
Dig it. And which is unique because normally in our kind of company, the chairman of the scientific advisory board will be noted internal, doctor, somebody who it's all going to be based around nutrition or supplementation. And we were like, we are a holistic company. So the perspective that we want on the scientific advisory board needs to also be holistic. And what's great about Marcus, what impressed me about his story, I'll talk like you're not here for a second, is that here's a guy who said, I'm going to bring the state of the art of thinking in medicine to fitness, and actually did the work while his peers in fitness were out there training people and getting jobs in the fitness industry. He went to get his doctorate and take it to a level that very few people in the industry have done, and has built this thing, P3 up in Santa Barbara, which is training the world's elite athletes in a way that is stunning, frankly, professional sports. So, Marcus, thank you for participating with us. Thanks for being a part of what we're trying to build here, and tell us a little bit about what we have in store with PAP.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Backs, balls. What is it? Backs, thighs, and balls. Is that right?
You can throw any parts you want in there.
Yeah.
No, don't go there. All right.
You got to know, though. He's got that side to him, but they also have the side where they're super committed to doing this thing well, really using the latest science. There's no other company that has this type of commitment to making sure this backside of this thing works right. No jokes there either.
Hey man, I'm totally.
All right. I see the commitment in terms of delivering science, and that was one of the biggest hooks for getting involved here. It was never my intention to get involved with a fitness company, but I'm confident that we can lead this thing out consistently in terms of sports science, making sure we're delivering the best products, making sure that we're actually leading the front edge in terms of what science is telling us about how to develop as human beings optimally, how to optimize nutrition, how to reduce injuries, all of these pieces. I was talking yesterday with Tony about how I'm confident that P90X already is a better program than a lot of pro athletes use. A lot of pro athletes use the program, but it's better than what their strength coaches on their NFL team or their Major League Baseball team or their NBA team are giving them. Yes. And this next version, P90X2, is going to create even more delta. It's going to create even more separation. So it's kind of wild to think that you guys are leading out that edge, and then the pro sports teams are going to follow.
So let's get into PAP, what it stands for, and then I'm going to roll a little video so people can see the process of sort of Tony going through this, getting hammered by these things, and then how they made their way into the programs themselves.
Yeah, so PAP stands for post-activation potentiation. And what it is this concept that if you combine a power movement with a strength movement, and the strength movement precedes the power movement. So you do like a split squat. You do a split squat movement, and then you combine it with a power movement that involves similar muscle groups, like a jump split squat. Then you get more muscle cells involved in that exercise. You create more power. If we went straight into that split squat, there's a certain amount of nerves and muscle cells that are just asleep. They're just dead weight. They're just along for the ride. But if you precede it with a strength movement, you essentially wake up those neurons, and you get those muscle cells that are normally dead weight. You get them engaged, and so you create more power. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And this is one of the hottest things in sports science right now. It's been studied like crazy over the last 10 years, especially out of Germany and out of Great Britain, out of Australia, and now out of the U.S. It's been studied over and over and over and over. Absolutely real phenomena. You precede a power movement with a strength movement, you get bigger power output. So that's sort of at the core of this PAP concept.
Carrie, can you roll that video, because it's not rolling for me up here. I want people to see some of the variety of those moves.
And it can involve almost any strength and power move, but the key is that similar muscle groups are engaged. similar muscle groups from the strength movement into the power movement are engaged. So this is Tony at our place.
Good times.
Humana, 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 humana.
Yeah, hop on the ball, your foot in 2 directions for 30 seconds. It doesn't look like much.
Now, why does the PAP program, the PAP aspects of P90X2, why did we build it so late into the program versus weave it throughout the 3 phases?
Well, I mean, it's intense training. I mean, it's really intense. It involves all these proprioceptive feedback mechanisms, lots of balance. I mean, your body has to be pretty engaged to be able to execute these movements. And so we want to build a base in strength. We build a base in plyometrics. We work on ground contacts a lot. How your foot interacts with the ground is incredibly important. These are, I think these are, there's athletes around. There's some other P90X people around in those clips. But essentially, you need to build a foundation before you throw somebody into this PAP type training. And we do that even with our athletes. You know, if we bring in a pro athlete, we're going to do some foundation work before you throw them into these PAP circuits.
Now, an athlete, okay, you know, somebody who has gotten to a specific level of the sport, make it through the collegiate ranks, get, you know, be with the best of the best. It shocks me. You would just expect that these guys would have this stuff dialed in. I mean, again, when I talked to Isabel about when she would train with, she would train Maurice Green and these Olympic runners and stuff, and to find out the degree to which she had to train them to explode out of the blocks and stuff, just the smallest moves that they still hadn't mastered. Is that what they're coming to you for? And it's hard for me to believe then that a DVD program could actually be that valuable to these guys at this level.
You know, like I said a minute ago, we've had pro athletes in almost every sport show up at our place and tell us that they've been doing P90X. And once we started talking about getting involved and me taking over the scientific advisory board, and then after I committed to this, when I hear that, I start laughing a little bit. You know, they see me giggling, and usually the response is something like, "No, that's a real shit, man. That stuff is hard." and then I have to tell them that I'm not, you know, it's not that I'm mocking it. It's because I'm actually involved in the company, and it's amazing to me how many athletes, how many pro athletes are doing this program and think it's the best thing they've done in training up to this point. You know, and then they show up at our place, and then we're a lot more specific about this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, pro athletes have holes all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, what do we find on you? What would you say the main thing we found on you?
Well, it was my explosive power on my right side, my right hip.
Hip stability on the right side. Need a little bit more power out of that side.
This look familiar to anybody who showed up at my workout the other day? I mean, 30 seconds of this and you just want to shoot yourself. But as a result of the work that you and I have been doing, I mean, here at almost 53 years old, I just thought that was going to be, you know, a weakness in me, and I'd have to overcompensate on the other side. I mean, I've had that weakness for 30 years, and now I don't, as a result of what we've done.
Yeah. So you know, it takes a unique personality to be as good as he is at something and still be open to continuing to learn, right? So he showed up, and we humiliated him in a few things, and now he's better. And this hole that he had that was going to continue to get worse as he went through life, this instability in his hip that leads to extraneous movement over his knee and starts wearing out a knee, which eventually ends up being a big problem, isn't going to be the big problem it was going to be. And so that's at the heart of all this stuff. I mean, our interest is in developing the world's best athletes. And we really, I mean, in every sport, we get calls almost on a weekly basis from GMs and owners wanting to send their athletes out to us or their teams out to us to get this, to get a competitive advantage in terms of specificity, to get this sports science overlay, to do a better job of taking care of their athletes. Really, in every sport is the case. But these systems we're building, they're the same systems you guys have. I mean, they really are. They just haven't been, you know, in these athletes, they've been developed out to this level. And you guys are somewhere else along this curve, you know, maybe close to this, maybe back here. But they're all the same systems. You need hip stability, you need mobility, you need all these systems that athletes need to move well, to keep your body working well for a long time. And so our commitment is to bring all this stuff we're bringing in the pro athlete world, all the sports science, all this leading edge technology, and apply it to you.
Now,